climate change is a major issue in this lake. There are some insecurities that we know, yes, is affecting the lake, but at the same time, climate change exacerbates those crises. For example, when people become displaced, they become vulnerable to join armed group of people like the Boko Haram and then become perpetrators of violence in their community. Lake Chad is very important because it's one of the most important lakes in Africa. And Lake Chad was more like the size of Frankfurt in Germany, but now it's a shadow of itself and cannot sustain over 40 million people that borders Nigeria, Niger, Chad and Cameroon. And it's displaced millions of people, and additionally 2.5 million people in dire need of humanitarian assistance. So due to the fact that the lake is shrinking. And at the same time, 80% of those people affected are women and girls. And so you could see how connected it is with the climate crisis, the drying of the lake, the displacement, migration, and a lot of crises happening, even the insecurity of the Boko Haram and the rest. So imagine if the lake dries out, what could be the future of the millions of people that depend on it? So it's a big issue for us to be worried about and to call for global efforts. It needs political will, because we can't take political will out of it, because it all comes down to leaders making deliberate efforts. Yes, as NGO, we are also trying to find initiative. For me, as the founder of I Lead Climate, one of those things that I'm doing is the use of GIS, which is a remote sensing technology in monitoring the size of the lake and also researching issues that are affecting the lake. And so we need everyone to come on board. And so that is why I mentioned the political leaders, because it has to do with different countries from Nigeria, Niger, Chad and Cameroon. And so it has to do with multilateralism. What do they have to give? What are the initiatives that they want to do to retain the lake or to prevent the lake from shrinking or drying out? And so if those deliberate actions are taken, it could help to push the agenda in helping to restore the lake back to its normal size. And at the same time, the financial issues. So the Lake Chad is not receiving as much financial donation as it should. So we see a lot of climate crisis playing triggers or exacerbating one crisis or the other. So if we could consider that as a component in the shrinking of the lake or in exacerbating the crisis in the region, then we could help to solve those crises, because understanding where the problem lies could also help to lead solutions to the crisis in the region. I think everybody should be an ecofeminist, actually, because it is not just a women issue, it's everyone issue. Because the climate crisis obviously affects both men, women, children, everyone. But then those who bear the brunt are women and girls. Women are the sole bearers of household needs for water, having to trek several distance, averagely 6 hours in a day to fetch water. It affects women empowerment and ability to participate in environmental protection, education and the rest. And so I see that connection between the climate crisis and then the rights of women. And so if we are able to figure out or solve the climate crisis, then definitely it will help to achieve gender equality, because they all work together. They are two sides of the same coin. And at the same time, when there is drought or floods, young girls are seen being traded, for child marriage or being dropped out because they have to trek several distances. So we can't solve the climate crisis without involving women and girls. And so everyone have a solution, even women. We have the indigenous knowledge, we are change makers. What we need is to be empowered. Africa accounts for less than 3% of global emissions. And when it comes to the climate crisis, one of the injustices we see is the fact that they talk about our population. But then when you look at the population and the emissions we emit, it doesn't make it look like we have a larger population. And those with the smallest population emit more. So why do we have to keep mentioning our population as correlating with emissions? But rather, our population is affected. When there is drought, there is flood, those people that contribute 90% to 95% to the climate crisis, they are not taking responsibility. And now we are having leading conversation on loss and damage funds, which is not being, which we are not seeing a very strong commitment as it should. Because for a community like mine in Africa, we are losing critical infrastructures that tells our story, our history, which if we don't act on it, it's going to be erased. People being forced to leave their community, not by their choices, but due to the climate crisis. People that have to migrate out of their country for greener pasture, crossing dangerous borders. It's not their choice as well. And now we are talking about trading of carbon. You know, it makes it look like we are not ready to solve the climate crisis.